Okay. Meron po bang tanong so far? Mukhang, asan ba yan?
Ito, may tanong dito from Janice.
Ayan.
Ano po ba ang dapat i-present sa PowerPoint presentation during proposal or final defense?
Asan yung question na yun, JP?
Yung last.
Yung last.
Okay. Okay, ano ba ang dapat lang i-present during proposal or final defense? Actually po yung approach dyan,
It depends on the time limit. Kasi
yes.
parang kung binigyan ka lang ng 15 minutes, ibig sabihin, only the general conclusions or yung
Yes.
mga pertinent details lang. So, the level of detail depends.
And alam
ultimately.
mo po, if you would
Yeah.
observe a lot of presentations, kasi ang tendency ng mga tao, I have 1 hour. So, therefore, 60 slides.
Mhm.
So, pero in practice po, sa totoo lang, you'd spend 2 to 5 minutes voicing over a slide. So, kung 15 minutes lang yon, technically, kung proposal yan, 15 minutes lang yung time mo to speak, essentially giving a pitch, di technically 3 to 4 slides lang yon. So, if you're presenting your proposal, then unang slide mo should talk about your motivation. Ano ba yung state of the art? Ano yung kulang? Right? And then your second section should focus on your research or on your research questions and then your hypothesis. So ito yung research questions ko, ito yung na-observe namin based on a review of literature. So therefore, ito yung mga sasagutin namin, right? And then yung third part nun should actually focus on your study approach. Ano ba yung una mong mga gagawin to prove your point? And ito lalong-lalo na sa research proposal writing and presentation. Ano ba yung indication that you have a good enough proposal? Ito sinabi ko po dun sa webinar namin on proposal writing. A high quality proposal is clear, focused, and actionable. Pag sinabi pong actionable, pag tinanong ka ng panel mo, sige, simulan mo na bukas, ano yung una mong experiment na gagawin? Kapag hindi mo yun nasagot, medyo wali pa yung proposal mo. So dapat ganun kaklaro yun. So kahit 3 slides lang yan yung ipe-present mo, dapat klaro sa kanila, oh, okay, she has a good starting point. But then, okay, sa proposal po, by the way, you also should not expect na na-figure out nyo lahat na isang taon ko itong gagawin from steps A to Z ay naplano ko na. Hindi po ganun. Kasi research comes with a lot of failure and surprises. So sometimes you have to pivot. Pero ang kailangan po, makita nila yung conceptual framework that this is the approach that makes sense right now. Alright? At kung ang expectation ng mga advisor nyo po ay you should have figured everything out, I am telling you, your advisor is inexperienced. Hindi nila alam ang mga sinasabi nila. Kapag ganon, you can only plan for a starting point. You can never predict the future and your outcomes. So you have to keep optimizing. You know, you improve as you go. Ayan. All right. Sabi ni Sir Wayne, is it necessary to exhaust all related literature in the review? Sir, hindi naman po natin kailangan basahin lahat. But then siguro yung magbibigay ako ng tips mamaya. You have to make sure that kung kilala nyo po yung mga top people and most reputable people in the field, at the very least, cover nyo po yung mga na-report nila dun sa area na yon. Kasi more likely po, if they are the leading figures in your field, kapag hindi nila na-cover yung ginagawa mo, then possibly merong novelty yung pinopropose mo, for example. And yun yung magandang way para i-benchmark. And more likely po, if you're publishing your paper, yung mga experts po na yan din ang mga unang-unang magre-react. Ayan. So, sila yung unang mag-challenge sa inyong mga sinasabi. Alright? Okay. So, okay. Abstract. So abstract, like I said, is an overview. Ito lang yung tip po. Ito, practical tip na ibinibigay ko po sa inyo. So when you write up your abstract, technically may tatlong sections lang po yan. So you have to state a very brief background of your study. So what problem needs to be solved and what has been done before. Ganon kasimple. 1 to 2 sentences. Problem statement. Doon sa abstract niyo, dapat klarong-klaro kayo. Ano ba talaga specifically yung gagawin niyo sa project ninyo? And then third, key results and findings. So by the way, this is research report. So we're assuming na nagawa na natin yung project. Tapos na tayo sa proposal stage. So you have to summarize key results and conclusions of your study. And then yung tip lang po, dapat po less than 300 words yung length ng abstract ninyo. So isipin nyo yung term. Are you guys familiar with the term elevator pitch? So for example, hypothetically, pumunta kayo ng DOST, may bibisitahin kayong lab, sumakay kayo sa elevator, tapos nakasalubong nyo yung DOST secretary. Yung DOST secretary has the ability to actually fund your research or siguro fund yung attendance po sa isang conference where you can present the results of your study. So doon sa elevator ride na yun, typically you would only have like 1 to 2 minutes to speak about your research and convince the DOST secretary that, hey, you should actually hear about my research and support it. No? So, ang goal sa pagsulat ng abstract is, this is your pitch. If you're only given 1 to 2 minutes to speak about your research, dapat yung abstract mo, ma-deliver mo within the very short period of time. So that is how concise your abstract should be. So doon sa context po nung ating example, nung ating case study about like nanoparticles for anti-cancer research, pwede yung pitch mo is like, hey, Mr. Secretary, I'm actually doing research developing metal nanoparticles as anti-cancer drugs, since this is an emerging area and we need new technologies because cancer has been a leading cause of death around the world. And so specifically what I did was I identified cost-effective ways of preparing gold nanoparticles, and then we did like we studied the effect of size and morphology in its anti-cancer activities in mice. And we were successful in establishing a cheap and light-mediated synthesis of gold nanoparticles in water. And our in vivo studies in mice revealed that 5 to 10 nanometer spherical gold nanoparticles were effective anti-cancer agents. So yun, tapos. So within a minute or two, na-deliver mo. Dapat po ganyan yung abstract. So, and I know challenging yan, lalong-lalo na po kapag, again, marami kang ginawa sa project mo, parang feeling mo, hindi ba dapat ilalagay ko karamihan ng mga ginawa ko dun sa abstract? So, hindi po. Again, overview lang, you should be focusing on highlights. Alright, highlights lang because you don't have the time. And then most importantly, bakit ba tayo nagsusulat ng abstract? Nagsusulat tayo ng abstract kasi yun yung unang babasahin when people see your report in a conference, anong tawag sa conference, ano na yan, book, proceedings. Ayan, ang tagal ko na ang tagal ko na pong hindi nagpe-present sa conferences. I'm losing my terms. Conference proceedings or kahit po sa academic journals. Hindi naman po sila yung magbabasa from introduction hanggang dulo. Abstract muna. Kasi that's the fastest way for them to figure out if what you actually did is interesting to them. So kung papalya kayo sa pagsusulat ng abstract, unang-una from a paper reviewing perspective, sabi nga po ni Dr. Hibas, kapag yung una pa lang sentences ng paper mo ay hindi na nagko-communicate ng quality at walang clarity, your abstract does not drive for clarity, hindi ma-approve. Ligwak. Kasi wala namang masyadong time ang lahat ng mga tao. Alright. Okay. Introduction. So ito, conceptual framework, pinahapyawan ko na to kahapon. So ano ba yung nandun sa introduction? So an introduction presents the study context and motivation. Pinasadahan natin yan. And essentially, ano ba yung context na yan? Yun yung background na sinasabi natin. An introduction explains relevant theories and knowledge, provides related developments that help establish your research questions. So dito na papasok na ano ba yung naging basehan ng hypothesis mo? Ano ba yung observations mo firsthand? Ano yung observations ng iba based on the literature that you read? And then third, and very importantly, sa introduction, sa dulo niyan, you're actually stating your research objectives, what specifically are you trying to achieve in your project. And then and also importantly, the scope. Okay, so ano ba yung scope? So scope meaning, ano lang ba yung aaralin mo dun sa project mo. So it's very important to discuss what your research will cover, but then it is also equally important to express ano yung hindi mo gagawin. Okay? And this is very important po sa proposal stage pa lang, sanayan niyo yung students niyo na dapat nakalista ano lang yung gagawin nila, ano yung aspects or ano yung questions na hindi nila pwedeng sagutin kasi limited ang resources, limited ang expertise, limited ang time. Okay? Kapag wala kayong scope, mahihirapan kayong mag-implement ng inyong research project. Dapat klaro hanggang saan lang ang gagawin nyo. Okay? Meron po bang nakaka-relate dyan? Ayan. So, dapat klaro-klaro po yan. And this is very important sa proposal stage. Okay. We're gonna get down to the example. So, background. Again, ito yung mga questions na pinakita ko kahapon. Tungkol saan ba yung research? Gamitin nyo yung mga inaral ng iba to establish the importance of what you're doing. And, to establish na, what they call this, to help better paint the problem that you're trying to solve. So, gamitin nyo yung reports ng iba. So, as an example, at again, this is not a full-blown introduction. Pinapakitaan ko lang po kayo na technically, ito yung mga kailangan mong i-establish. Ito yung mga information na kailangan mong ilagay. And then I'm just like adding bullet points para ma-indicate sa inyo na ay, ito yung mga posibleng pagkakasulat depende dun sa case study na ginawa natin. So you can start by talking about cancer and like how it remains to be a leading cause of death. And then deductive, yung reasoning natin dito from very broad concept, ang goal ng introduction is to narrow it down to your research question. So meaning, you talk about cancer, a very broad area, and then yung next part niyan, you're gonna discuss anti-cancer treatment. So naturally, nagpo-focus na siya na, okay, what about cancer are you trying to study? So it's anti-cancer treatment. And then from anti-cancer treatment, you're narrowing it down to a specific class of anti-cancer agents, which are nanoparticles. So, di ba? So within your first couple of paragraphs, nafo-focus na yung attention or yung topic onto a specific area. Yun po yung ginagawa natin dyan. At yun din yung dapat yung ituro sa mga estudyante nyo na baka mamaya ay broad concept tapos mag-narrow down tapos babalik na naman sa broad concept. Dyan nyo po makikita na yung pagsulat ng intro at saka yung review ng literature parang pinasok ko lang yung kung ano-ano. Just like for the heck of coming up with a page worth of words. So, hindi po yan. Again, you're coming up with a story. Okay, so the beginning of the introduction introduces the background, and then typically we dedicate like a couple of paragraphs to further expound on your context. Ano ba yung mga conventional knowledge and state-of-the-art systems in that research area that motivated your interest and then also led you to your research question. So again, ang goal nyo kasi dito establish, ano ba yung bago sa ginagawa ko? Or ano yung idadagdag nitong ginagawa ko dun sa area of research na napili ninyo? So what makes your study unique and important? Okay, so example dito. So several studies indicate na yung size uniform daw na transition metals are effective anti-cancer drugs. And then, recent advances showed na itong process, yung pag-produce ng mga nanoparticles na to, pwede dong maging mura kasi historically mahal yung process nila. Alright? So again, yung introduction, yung first part nyo talked about anti-cancer drugs, and then now you're talking about a specific type of, or a specific attribute of nanoparticles, so size and uniformity of shape. And then after that, pupunta ka naman dun sa, okay, a very critical aspect of those size and shape uniform nanoparticles is mahal. So, segue ka naman dun sa merong recent advances na mura yung approach. So again, mas pa-narrow ng pa-narrow yung context ng discussion mo. Alright. And then sa dulo naman nito, sa dulo ng introduction nyo, you have to state your hypothesis and your study scope. So this study did this and did that to establish this objective or to validate this hypothesis. And then again, sinabi ko, state what your problem or what your research will cover or will not cover. All right. So ito yung example. So you can state your study objective in the context of this case study na this study explored the synthesis of size-uniform gold nanoparticles and their evaluation as anti-cancer drugs. And the study focused on, yung sinabi ko kanina, cost-efficient synthesis methods of 5 to 10 nanometer gold nanoparticles and testing their anti-cancer properties in mice. So doon pa lang, kitang-kita nyo na ay, nag-focus lang sila dun sa 5 to 10 nanometers at saka yung anti-cancer efficacy study na ginawa nila ay sa daga. Alright, hindi sa tao. So again, pag binasa nila yan, yung introduction nyo pa lang ay klaro na what to expect. Kung ano yung ginawa nila or kung ano yung gagawin nila. Alright. Okay, so questions about MRAD, abstract, and introduction. Bago po natin pasadahan yung mga natitira kasi gusto ko pong medyo magkaroon tayo ng siguro clarification kung meron kayong questions about like the basic structure and then writing up abstract and introduction of a research report. Meron po ba kayong mga tanong? O baka nagtatype pa. Sige, bibigyan ko po kayo ng 1 minuto para kayo ay magtanong. Kung hindi po, I would assume na either napakaklaro ng pagkakadiscuss ko or wala akong or naguluhan kayo. So how long is the introduction? So sir, it depends po. If you're writing up an article for publication, maiksi lang po yun. Actually, about like 4 to 5 paragraphs lang po ang introduction. So ganoon lang po siya kaiksi. If you're writing up a thesis, usually po medyo mahaba-haba to kasi parang mama ko, if I recall, kasi I only wrote up like 1 dissertation, no? So I have like 1 data point, pero sa amin po, when I wrote up yung introduction sa dissertation ko, yung introduction technically constituted almost a chapter. So medyo mahaba-haba siya, marami pong pages. So depende po sa article na sinusulat niyo. So what kind of research gap do we need to write in the introduction? So when you're talking about research gap po, Sir Alvin, essentially po, yun yung sinusubukan nyo sagutin. Saan nanggaling yung research question nyo? For example, if you're observing a particular organism na pathogenic and hindi understood yung pathogenicity, then that's the gap. Hindi understood bakit pathogenic ito. And yun yung magiging focus ng research nyo. So yun po yung sinasabi natin na research gap. Or yung sinasabi naman ng iba, pain points. Ano ba yung problem? Saan ba nahihirapan yung mga tao dito? Or ano yung unknown? Ano yung hindi klaro na kapag ginawa niyo yung project niyo, kayo yung makakasagot niyo?
Yeah, yan ang ginagawa ko ngayon, Jeff.
Yep. So, conceptual and theoretical framework. Okay. So, actually po yung theoretical framework, medyo hindi ako masyadong familiar dyan. Okay. JP, are you
Normally,
aware?
parang doon nilalagay yung methodology.
So
Kasi dun sa, yun sa, kunyari, theoretical, yung theory ng AAS, yung instrumentation.
Okay.
Part din siya na introduction sa case namin.
Sa analytical chemistry. Okay. So siguro sometimes I suspect na interchangeable ito, yung concept na
It depends on the disciplines.
It depends on the discipline po. So siguro po yung term din kanina na yung assumption sa descriptive research ay ang interpretation natin is hypothesis. Parang ganoon.
Yeah. Within a framework, so within a certain body.
Context. Yeah.
Hindi broad, specific.
Yes. How about yung establishing your territory daw in the introduction? Paano? Establishing your territory.
The territory.
Ano po yun? Medyo, pwede po bang humingi ng konting context po yung sa establishing yung territory? Kasi ngayon ko lang din po
Siguro yung scope. The scope. Yeah.
Okay. So yung
Kung-
scope, ayun po. So siguro po, yung sa introduction, you have to make it clear that, okay, since pag nag-start na kayong i-communicate yung research questions nyo, naturally, you're talking about the scope that, okay, like this area, ito yung critical aspects. For example, kung meron pong 5 elements dun sa research topic nyo, pwede pong iklaro nyo dun that, but this study will only cover these 3.
Mhm.
And itong dalawang areas na hindi pa naiintindihan, hindi namin to i-cover.
Yeah.
Ganun po yun. Ganun po
Yeah.
yung mag-clarify. Ayan. Hindi ko
Kasi
na
eventually, kung halimbawa meron kang very specific na study, tapos later on, makikita mo, ba sabi mo merong parang serendipitous na nangyayari. So magiging mag-e-enlarge yung project mo kasi marami ka pang nakikita na
Yes. Ito
na
meron ako.
surprise na data.
Yes. Actually, ito meron akong mga nakikitang tanong din dito na interesting. Some of them I don't understand and I won't be able to offer siguro po material answers. Pero siguro tayong tatlo po pag-usapan natin to. Ito pong tanong ni Sir Romar. Ilang chapters na po ang usually ginagamit nowadays sa thesis? Okay, so I can offer sa experience ko po. Yung ginawa ko pong research, merong 4 na themes. So meaning, 4 po yung chapters ko. Meron po akong 4 na subtopics doon sa aking thesis. So that's how you decide it. So for example, if you do a thesis and then isa lang po talaga yung main research question na sasagutin nyo, then isa lang po yung chapter. Yun po.
Depende din kasi yan kasi dito sa West, 'di ba, Jeff?
Yes.
Merong paper format. Merong yung traditional thesis na book.
Yes. Yes.
So what you did was the book.
I did the book.
So I did the paper format.
Yes.
So minimum of 3 to 4 publications na peer-reviewed. So those will be your chapters.
Yes.
Same
So
for me.
parang meron lang siyang overarching na theme. Pero
Yes.
lahat yun related. So
Yes. And actually, yun maganda nga din yung approach na yun that they are setting a minimum number of publications and then essentially you're compiling it and you're writing a general introduction and a conclusion
yeah.
section at the very end. So I guess that's a very important point, Ma'am Connie, kasi po again, depende sa institution ninyo. So sa department po namin sa chemistry, same university as Ma'am Connie, we were expected to write up a dissertation, which is essentially a book. So the way we spliced our dissertation was depending on the number of subtopics that you tackled. So for example, in my case, I developed 4 different types of catalysts. So therefore, 4 na chapters yun. Ayun po.
Si ang advantage naman nung paper format, at the end, pag nasulat mo na yon, may publications ka na.
And peer-reviewed na.
Peer-reviewed na.
Na siya. So,
ano na lang siya, appendix na lang siya.
Yes.
Oo.
Yes. Ayan. Ito may nagsabi dito na the thing with the format for a lot of universities and secondary level schools do not teach the importance of research gap. Alam nyo po, ito din po talaga ang challenge. Hindi lang naman po ito sa Pilipinas. Majority of people who tackle research projects or capstone projects na hindi naman po talaga career ang research, it's being done mainly for compliance. So hindi din po talaga na-highlight yung fact that you're actually doing research because you're intending to fill a gap. You're intending to better understand something that nobody understands. Yun po talagang research need, yung authentic research need. Dapat and kaya po, ito ang maganda naman po dito, kayo po ay mga research advisors, mababago nyo po yan sa klase. Sa pag research investigatory project kayo sa mga estudyante nyo ngayon, ang unang dapat nilang i-establish pagka nagbigay ng proposal is the research need or the research gap. Ano ba yung pain points that you are trying to come up with solutions for? Ayan. Ang ganda. Ay, nakakatawa to. Ang dami po naming natututunan galing dito, and then all these insights, we thank you for generally sharing your own experiences. Kasi po, all these inform us kung paano ba namin i-design pa yung mga contents namin in the future para po talagang kumbaga tumatama sa puso ng mga guro na gusto din po namin tulungan. Ayan.
Merong question si Sir Reggie.
How about po yung establish your territory daw in the introduction, paano yun?
Ito yung discussion natin sa scope.
Ay,
kanina.
opo.
Ay, ito na ba yon?
Yes.
Okay.